The World Drivers' Championship was wrapped up last week in Texas. Circuit of the Americas provided quite a wet race where we had Leo Lund take his largest margin of victory yet while claiming the championship. His first championship, our 8th different driver in RPL F1 to win a championship. And with that being said, he had the fake TB and Skither. Two other champions join him on the podium with Reese Dainty and Cookie. Right behind that, two other champions in the event as well. Right behind the podium sitters. Speaking of championships, we're going to find out this week in Brazil for round 17 of the season with 4 rounds remaining. Can we get the constructors wrapped up a few rounds early as well? McLaren have the chance to do that for the first time. Coming into season 11, they won 11 races prior to the season. Now they're looking for championship number 1. It's filled with number 1s for them, but we are here for round 17 of the season, as we told you. Brazil, Sao Paulo, Interlagos. This should be fun. I'm your commentator for tonight, Ryan Searles, and alongside me is the man who thought he lost his life in the Season 5 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix of RPL, which was canceled, by the way. And it was around wintertime, in fact, and we are getting colder in the year, but nonetheless, we're not getting colder in terms of the way the season is going to end for RPL F1. Titan, it's good to have you. This should be a fun event, even if we get the constructors wrapped up or not.
Yeah, this is going to be quite fun. Welcome along, everyone, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, the action in the constructors is heating up. It is a battle between two constructors, McLaren and Red Bull. McLaren has a chance to wrap up the constructors tonight. They just have to best Red Bull by 30 points in order to claim their first ever constructors championship. After coming up short a couple of times. This will be fun. And as you mentioned, it is fall. It is starting to get colder. I mean, where I am, it's windy. It's windy as shit. I ain't in Windy City.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. I mean, I live about 3 hours away from you, so we're experiencing about the same thing. Speaking of experiencing things, I wanna give definitely the best wishes to our Florida natives of RPL, Cookie, Skither, who are not here tonight, and our fellow Tier 3 driver and commentator, Faded Knights, also known as Ghost Flame. We hope those of you from Hurricane Helene, Milton, and maybe future hurricanes coming, continue to stay safe, whether you're in an area where you need to evacuate or not. With that being said, since Cookie is not here, we do have Reese Dainty in the Red Bull. He is one of 10 different drivers to have a pole in Brazil. You're hearing that right. We've ran Brazil for 10 previous seasons, and we've had a different pole sitter each time. So he is in the Red Bull tonight. We'll see what he can do. And also, since Skither's not here, we've got Lennon, a Tier 3 winner this season. Got promoted up to Tier 2, is a previous Tier 2 winner as well. A Tier 2 podium sitter 2 weeks ago, and could have been one last night if it weren't for the track limit penalty he encountered late in the race. He is racing in the Mercedes. This is not his first Tier 1 start. He made his debut in Tier 1 2 seasons ago in Vegas. That was for the Ferrari Academy. This time he's in the Mercedes Academy. Big shoes to fill tonight for Skither. Same thing for Reese Dainty in the Red Bull. Speaking of other tiers, meanwhile, I want to give some congrats to those who won races so far this weekend. Tier 3, ERT Uri won the race there. That could very likely get taken away from what we're hearing from George and how he spoke about it. It does seem like he will not be keeping that win. So if it is Uri or Turbo, congrats to either one of them. Tier 2, George Up Williams, speaking of him, he won that race. He's racing tonight for Aston Martin. Congrats to him. With that being said, could potentially become Goatley's win for VCarb if any involvement happens in the storage room. Earlier today in F2, we had RPL Titan Iron, our co-com, return to racing and got a points finish. He was part of the spotlight, but the spotlight at the front involved Miniko and Jack, both teammates for F2, winning those events. Miniko is second of F2 and Jack his 26th. So congrats to those guys on getting victories. And with that being said, we're loading into short qualifying. We spoke about the constructors, Titan. I want to speak about the drivers briefly since we were just speaking about that. Jack currently holds second place and is not far far enough in front of TB to where he can wrap it up early enough. He is only 17 points clear of the fake TB, who started out the season in the V Carbon, got his way into the Red Bull, and has been impressive ever since. Cookie is fourth in the championship, with Reese trailing by 13 points. Reese Dainty could definitely sneak his way into the top 4. And with Cookie missing yet another event, that does raise the question of does Cookie fall even further down the field if Reese does pass him and Cookie continues to miss races.
Yeah, anything is possible. And yeah, as you mentioned, with Jack having a 17-point lead over TB at this present moment, yeah, he has a good, comfortable spot to get himself into there. But I mean, you can't count out TB, can't count out Cookie. I mean, heck, if Reese continues running around in the Red Bull, he don't discount him either. And also, I mean, taking a look I just took a look at the championship standings and stuff. I think it was kind of interesting, and I think it's actually pretty funny. Like separating off Jack to like the lowest person down that could possibly challenge him for a second in the championship is KVS all the way down in 8th. But KVS needs like an absolute, complete miracle in order to challenge for second.
I think Gecko's one as well, who is up there in the points, but he could be so much more up there if he actually got the results in other races when he had trouble. I believe it's raining at some point during the event. I don't know how accurate that is. I know there's approximate weather on, but with how many drivers are on track right now, I'm very convinced that it's going to rain during qualifying. And Titan, we saw this happen in Season 9 F1, the drivers rushing to get out there on track. We had Josh and Jack, who were both in Ferraris, get eliminated in Q1 and Q2. Are we seeing that happen right now with only 4 drivers stranded in the pit lane right now? Well, Matt, now make it 3, and it's going to be 2 very soon. We might be seeing some wet weather coming.
Well, I haven't checked any of the other guys' streams to see who is in there. I mean, maybe Reese probably had that intel provided for us, perhaps, but that's just...
He's the only one that I know of that's streaming. So is KVS and Minico now that they're out on track. I mean, if it does rain...
firing away.
Yeah, he is the first one on a lap. We'll ride on board with him in a moment, but George and Zakaria almost came to collision there on the main straight, trying to get laps in and trying to follow one another on track. Remember, Titan, this game, you want to be close to the car in front to kind of get that slipstream throughout the whole lap. It's actually a lot more powerful in the dirty air this game, so that's why you see everybody, regardless of whether it may rain or not, they're following each other on their laps, regardless of the status. You see that quite a bit. We're going through the first sector, and I'm going to tell you right now, if it does start raining and people get stranded and caught out by track limits or whatever it may be, and then the rain comes, we could see something similar to what we saw in Season 9 2 seasons prior, where the rain did come in qualifying, and there were some big names, big teams out of qualifying, and it also provided some smaller teams like Haas and Sauber to get into Q3. We could very well see that. This could be a chaotic session if the rain I saw on Reese's stream is accurate.
Oh, very fun. Well, here comes Cryptic coming across the line to set the benchmark. 8.2, but then gets responded by Jack with a 7.4 for him as more cars come filing on in across the line. Ding goes to the top of the board, almost 0.003 of a second faster. But let's see, here comes Leo Lund, and as expected, Leo Lund takes the top of the board with a 6.9 for him. KVS slots in the second with a 7.3, and some more cars just filing in to get some positions done. But a couple of cars I noticed don't have a lap in. One of them, who's currently going through the first DRS straight right now, is JTK and Gecko, both Ferraris, invalidated a lap.
I think the thing is, well, for some of these guys like Gecko and Gagi and maybe JTK, they did not get out on track quick enough. Gagi went 9th fastest. Maxwell spun on his cooldown lap. Minico sits 7th for Haas right now. He has Cam alongside him tonight. Cam usually is in the Sauber. Zakaria is reserving for Sauber tonight. Lennon we spoke about before in the Mercedes, tonight usually is not. Jordan Red Fire usually not in the Williams. They are. Jordan got loaned out there. George in the Aston loaned out. Yeah, a lot of drivers, are up there and maybe going to get themselves into the next round of qualifying who we usually would not expect. And only 19th fastest for Gecko. Is he going for a lap now? What's the case there? That'll be a big question asked. I think he did back out on that lap that he had and thought, hey, I'm going to go for another one with whatever happened here. JTK is crossing. Could he become the Dutchman into the session instead of Lennon? Yes, he will. He'll be into Q2, whereas Lennon, the other Dutchman, currently has been knocked out. I'm going to look on board with Gecko as we look at things. Another driver who we have not talked about in terms of reserving and not usually in their full-time spot. That is here, Penguin as well. Raced in Tier 2 last night. He is in the Sauber, currently 9th, meaning we'll at least get one Sauber into the next round of qualifying if the rain does hit, and I think that is it. Yep, that's the rain. Gecko needs to cross the line immediately.
Oh yeah, Gecko really needs to get it done like now before anything winds up going wrong and horrible for him. He doesn't want to be hauled off so badly here. But here comes Gecko now to finish off the lap as quickly as possible. Here he comes and bashing across the line. Goes 7th fastest. He's 2/10 ahead of his teammate. So he is safely through. But unfortunately, that now knocks Jordan into the bottom 5. But with the rain coming in, unfortunately, I think that is it. So, but unless the rain decides to take like 10 years to fully take effect, we're going to be seeing a Williams, a Mercedes, an Alpine, a Kick Sauber, and a Haas being knocked out of Q1. And honestly, I can't remember the last time, and not including qualifying bans, by the way, I can't remember the last time a Mercedes got knocked out in Q1.
I feel like we've had it happen a few times, but we've not had it happen often. And I want to say the one time I can recall this season we had that happen, if I'm correct. Didn't Red Fire get knocked out in Miami in qualifying in the first session, maybe? I want to say something happened for the Mercedes in qualifying at Miami for them to be far down. But the fact that Lennon is down there in his Mercedes F1 debut is definitely a big surprise. What we've seen him do in Tier 2, I mean, and even Tier 3 to start off, I mean, he was too fast for Tier 3. The fact that that's happened for him is crazy. RPL Jordan, who currently is the first car out, just made a big mishap of turn 1 and 2, getting onto the curbs and slipping on them. We'll talk about the new driver contracts for next season in a little bit when more drivers do start retiring when it's too wet out there for laps. But in the meantime, I want to talk about what Jordan just had happen there, Titan. Turn 1, 2, 3, those curbs can get slippy, and same thing with the curbs down at 4, 5, and 6. Track limits right where Maxwell's going through, and even the Senna S can be tricky for the drivers. That will be a big talking point for sure, and Maxwell looks like he's not improving at all.
No, he was almost 6/10 down after Sector 1, so it seems the rain is starting to take a grip on hold here, and ironically, I was thinking the exact same thing a little bit ago, looking over some of the contracts that have gone into some of the changes that happen and some different signings going on in the next season. Some changes are actually pretty damn surprising. What the hell was that?
Maxwell has destroyed that Alpine on the pit entrance, and he's got to get going because there's cars coming behind, and they're coming quick. Jack Miles retires from the session. Cam is out on track, currently last of the guys on the laps, and yeah, this looks like it's too wet, and it looks like we're going to get drivers retiring from the session. We have our 5 eliminated, and that is RPL Jordan in his Tier 1 return. Same with Zakaria, Lennon, Maxwell, Cam, out of qualifying, eliminated. With those contract changes, here's what we have that happened right after the Grand Prix last week as Leo Lund tops Q1. Leo, speaking of him, the new champion, he has gone from McLaren signed next season to now Aston Martin. feeling like he wants to have some more competition in races by going to the slower team that is from England. Reece Dainty did not have a contract for next season, but he is now at Red Bull. Someone who was at Red Bull and is now at a different team is Egg. He's now at Ferrari. He'll be alongside T.S. Korsman, also known as Devastating Riz. What a name that was last week on our grid. Skither and Florian, two drivers there that are definitely interesting on the overtakes in RPL for sure. Sometimes getting a bit aggressive, we know, but they're great drivers, both at Mercedes for next season. Cryptic and Redfire will be paired alongside each other at Williams. Gecko will be at VCarb. He originally had a chance to be at Ferrari, but that's not happening anymore. Gecko is going to be alongside one of his championship rivals, technically, in Season 11. I say championship rivals because, although they were not winning the championship when Owen did that season, they were contending for race victories and battling for what was second and third with Bonkers that season. They'll be at VCarb together. Gecko and JTK, teammates this evening in next season as well. Just a different Italian team for them. Minico is signed on at Haas. TB was originally going to be the one alongside Korsman at Ferrari, but when, as we got Maxwell on track, interestingly, when we had the change happen with Reece at Red Bull, replacing Egg, and Leo going from McLaren to Aston, that was when everything started to swap around big time. That's why you see TB, who was originally going to be signed to Ferrari, at McLaren now, alongside Jack Miles for Season 12. And that means there are three open spots, 2 open teams for next season. 2 Sauber spots and a second Haas spot still yet to be filled for Season 12 of RPL F1.
Yeah, going over those contracts that have wound up happening over the course of the season. I mean, think about it. I mean, Reece returning back to Red Bull. I mean, yeah. I mean, in Season 11 he was all right, but then had a slight little slump, but was doing real. But now he's ever since switching over to VCarb, but now having chances in Red Bull, he's really coming back alive into it. So hopefully for Season 12 he'll be a lot more competitive and more easier going forward into this. As I just noticed the game automatically reset Maxwell there. Anyways,
Tokyo Drift from Maxwell.
Yeah, but then yeah. Before we go further on, there's your top 3: Leo Lund on top, KVS second, and Ding in third. I just noticed Ding's got the Japanese flag on him. But I don't. No, speaking of which, also, in regards to flags, Torn Penguins. I have no idea what flag that is.
Neither do I, but I'm going to find out after the stream is over. Nonetheless, here are the guys in the relegation zone out of Q1. RPL Jordan, Lennon, Maxwell, Zakaria, and Cam. We got a Haas eliminated, a Sauber eliminated, an Alpine and a Williams eliminated. No surprise really there from those teams. Maybe the Alpine is a surprise, but the big surprise is the Mercedes. All 5 drivers, except for Zakaria, in that bottom 5 have won races in RPL throughout our tiers.
I found it.
What flag is that?
I found it for Torn Penguin. His flag. I mean, it looks like it, but it may I have it wrong. No, it is right.
Okay.
I'm gonna
What is
butcher.
it?
I'm gonna butcher this one for the
Spell it
other
out.
end. Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it's a Bosnian flag.
All right then. You know what? I'll be honest. Probably stems from me being from the U.S. I have no idea what country that is, and I have no idea where it's located. But you know what? Maybe I will figure that out after the
Bosnia
stream
is
is
in
over.
Europe. I know it's in Europe. That I know. It's I think it's like nearby.
Well, with your 11 more years of you living over me, I think the thing is that you have more reason to know that compared to me. So.
Oh, bite me.
That,
It's near.
well,
I know it's nearby. I know it's nearby Italy. I know that.
Maybe you can give Florian Fanzelter a visit. I don't know. Ding a visit too. I don't know. Anyway, nonetheless, Nonetheless, I want to speak about one other ride we did not talk about as drivers are going on track for our first actual interlaps
Yep.
on a wet track here in Brazil, which it's no surprise we see rain here. We saw it a few times prior, I think season 7 or 8, one of those two events we saw
Oh
rain
yeah.
occur here in RPL F1, and I want to say there's been other events we've seen it here recently, but nonetheless, doesn't matter. What matters right now is the qualifying session and next season's seats. One seat we did not talk about that I think is kind of under the radar, and some we're talking about maybe it being slightly undeserved. I think there was, of the top 5 teams, you have 10 drivers in them, 10 drivers signed, and one of the big things was, maybe Reese didn't deserve that Red Bull. He had one good race or 2 good races, but one of the other talking points of the 8 out of 10 rides that were really fully deserved, one of them maybe not being deserved was Florian Vanzelter in the Mercedes. The reason why I talk about that is he had 2 really good races. He came from P19 in Zandvoort to finish P2. And the thing with Florian is that was in an Aston Martin. That was not in a Mercedes at all. And the Aston is not as close to the McLaren as some would think, but that's still impressive considering he beat Jack and both Red Bulls, and he was a part of the Red Bull Academy prior. The other thing as well, with that being said, for Florian is that he qualified in the front row in Monza alongside Leo Lund. I know they took each other out, but if Florian maintains his patience, I mean, it seems like Florian and Leo might be the 2 that outperform their cars next season in season 12 for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I have experience knowing with Florian because last game, a few seasons ago in Tier 2, he was in Tier 2 racing under the Ferrari Academy and racing in Ferrari. I mean, yeah, he is a really good driver, but he can be a little impatient, and sometimes the pressure can cause him to crack and wind up making quite a lot of mistakes. Hence, a lot of times that him and Owen wound up clashing.
And George, and Hunted.
Yep, and Hunted too. Yeah, that was
Many of them can
last
attest that.
season there. But I think lately in regards to his Tier 1 runs, Florian has really shown a lot of growth and quite a bit of potential. So maybe him being in the Mercedes is a chance to prove himself that maybe in due time, maybe season 13 Tier 1, we could probably see him hanging with the big boys in one of the top 3 teams.
Speaking of the big boys, Leo Lund is fastest of anybody so far. The 2 Red Bulls cross. Reese actually will start a lap this time instead of completing one. Jack is second, Ding is third. George is fifth for Aston Martin, not too bad there. George does have some prior experience in the Aston Martin team. He has a P4 finish with them prior. So it's raining in Q2, it says. Q3, it's supposed to be light rain with damp conditions. I know the rain has stopped currently. I do see that on our screen. So we should be getting a dry end to Q3 then for sure, no doubt about that. And it's a completely dry race with that being said. So the rain came to mess with us for a little bit, but it did not last long with that being said. Blue Gaki crosses. He had his second career pole in Tier 2 yesterday, his first on merit. He'll be 9th place. He's into this qualifying session for V-Carb. I think he was eliminated a few weeks ago in Singapore when he was in that ride in qualifying in the first session, since we're talking about eliminations. And Gecko got a nice little tow from the Aston Martin. Don't know if that was meant or not, if the Aston wanted to go back and start a lap, but Gecko now goes fastest for the Ferrari team. So we are seeing the track improve and ramp up. We're going to look at Reese Dainty Cross. We'll cover a lot of the laps later on in the session, but meanwhile, the fake TB takes over at the top just to have Reese Dainty go forth in between the McLarens. Leo Lund will start a lap. He recharged for another one. So I think what we're seeing here are the drivers trying to get in a lap here with it stopped raining before the track does dry, so they at least have improvements here coming. And we have Jack Miles contemplating the soft compound tires.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind with Gecko getting his lap done, Woo, Lord, Leo, that was very close. Got up a little too close with the curbs and almost lost it coming out of turn 4, but kept it in tune for sure. But that's going to cost him quite a bit of time. Anyways, with George giving Gecko that little bit of a tow, even though they're in different teams, in different academies, these two are friends. So probably George was being the nice one, and helping his friend out, giving him that toe, and that's how Gecko, well, temporarily had the lead. Man, Leo Lund is superhuman or something, because despite that nasty snap
I
out
know.
of turn 4, he's still 3/4 of a second up in Sector 2.
Redfire went 8th, George went 4th, and Leo Lund goes fastest. I mean, with Leo Lund going fastest right there, I also have to say, not to discredit him in any way, the track is ramping up and it is improving. We had Hunted at LAX, who was in the McLaren last week, did not have the best of races. He's up in 6th right now with that lap complete, and I think we just had another improvement. That's Minico for Haas up in 4th. They were up there, I believe, was it yesterday in Tier 2, or was it a few weeks ago with Mentoki? I believe it was a few weeks ago with Mentoki in the Haas, I believe in Monza. Yeah, they were. So Mentoki, Minico, the two names we tend to slip up on a few times every once in a while. They're always seeming to knock their way up on the field in the Ferrari Academy equipment. We do have drivers, like we said, contemplating the soft tires, but nobody has gone out on track with them yet.
I think it is time, because
Yes.
Redfire is struggling.
Yes, that would sound about right. I mean, you said Leo Lund is superhuman, but the improvement from, I mean, the track getting as much better as it was, just goes to show that it may depend on if you invalidate your last lap or not. And I'm gonna say this because although the track is
on it.
Yeah, although the track is drier right now, it is not at its full ability. We saw time trial times by Leo set by a 6 flat, some setting, 6.5s, whatever, in that range. We're 7 seconds off of that. That's why I say you gotta wait for the track to fully dry out. We're gonna see drivers set better laps and get better on the times right now. But with that being said, the track should be fully dry by their last laps in Q2, meaning that you want to be the last one out there in order to get the best lap possible. If that's the case for someone like a V-Carb of Gagi, or even what we saw yesterday in Tier 2 Singapore, Gagi was one of the best cars in the field and did get one of the last laps in, and that did matter. He was on pole position. We're going to ride on board with him, Titan. I'll have you go to him by Sector 2, but that will be a big, big thing for this qualifying session then. I mean, track limits, of course, because that did affect some people in Q1, and we did have a Mercedes get knocked out. Speaking of track limits, Gagi has invalidated it, but that will be big for the end of the session as Redfire goes second fastest.
I guess he must have been recharging that lap as I was mentioning about it. But yeah, Blue Gagi unfortunately did invalidate, so it looks like he invalidated in the Senna S. As you were on board with him for that, because I was just checking out Redfire to see how much he was improving by. But I guess those wets, those inters are still playing as the best tire for right now. So probably the track is just a little bit too cold, because a couple of cars are now out onto those soft compound tires. Blue Gagi being one of them, and one guy on that lap right now is George, and I believe Leo Lund is out on the south. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, well, Minico did chime in on the Twitch chat telling us the softs are currently faster. They may be faster, but the big thing is, you could just see George coming out of the final braking zone there, and is that Glock corner. Well, George is gonna, well, I'm not gonna say it. Actually, I can't say it now because he's coming back to the pit lane. I was gonna use something that could get the Twitch stream banned for a commentary line, but we're not gonna do that. Either way.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
It did involve Glocks. We'll keep it at that, but nonetheless, Leo Lund, we're going to see if he stays out on track. George went back to the pit lane, which is very weird. I think what is going on here with what George did is he said, look, the track, it's not too wet, but I'm not going to go out there just to come back in and risk not having a final lap in, because technically, if you think about it, Leo Lund is doing that. Leo Lund is risking it. I know it's a minute and a half or a minute and a quarter or less lap time with, as you see, the track drying up
and
ramping up.
Fifth.
Yeah, I mean, it ranges, well, with these conditions, it definitely ranges.
He's improved by about a tenth and a half.
It definitely ranges for sure, but what I'm trying to say is that with Leo with him. You're risking right now by going out at the time you are. You're risking not being able to go back into the pit lane and actually get that final lap in when the track is properly fully dry. And I think that's why George aborted and went back there. He realized, look, I'm not going to get a final lap in, and I'm not going to have a chance to advance right now. Currently, our bottom 5 is GTK, Gagi, Cryptic, Penguin, KVS. KVS and GTK are biggest surprises down there. Leo is 6/10 up, and Red Fire improved to only be 3/10 behind. Look at that. Wow.
To be fair, Red Fire is still out there on those inter tires, so the intermediates are still playing polite here, and looks like Gagi has not Gagi. Leo Lund has backed off from
Probably
that
the same
lap.
age anyway.
But I mean, he was 6/10 up, to be fair. I mean, but to be fair, he's got 13.5, so even if he crossed the line and improved, he would have been in the high 12s. And given how little time there is, I think basically Leo Lund was basically doing a guinea pig-like run, and I think he probably could have been fine and stayed alive.
Well, that's why you see people pitting right now. Like I said, you're risking not only invalidating a lap, but you're risking not being able to get back in time and actually do the laps. Red Fire's been on those tires for what's going to be 8 laps now. He's basically done a race pace style type of run, and as you see, Red Fire comes into the pit lane. The lucky thing for Red Fire when getting back out there on track is that he will not have a teammate that will hold him up when coming out of the pit lane. I want to keep on board with Red Fire to see if anybody is coming out at all. Nobody is, so they're all waiting for the last moment here. I think we're going to get a Monza Q3 type of style
is moving.
Run out there, and he is. Yeah, he doesn't even have a lap in, so that's the big thing. If enough of these guys invalidate have trouble on their laps, it may come down to guys like Leo and Red Fire and TB barely sneaking their way through if enough have trouble. And there you go. There's the sign, DRS enabled. So exactly what I said, Titan. They're waiting for the last gasp here to go out. Want that, you know, freshest part of the soft tires, driest part of the track, everything possible to make it count. And look at that. Everybody on track, everybody on the soft tires with it. So we're going to see who leads the thing of the queue coming out. Right now it's Penguin, but KVS is going ahead, and I think we are going to see a Monza Q3 type of style finish to this, at least, with some maybe wanting some slipstreams, some maybe not. It may be the difference to get through. Give us your predictions in Twitch chat, folks, for what you think will happen here. Will we get another big team like we had knocked out in Q1 with Mercedes? It was Lennon knocked out last time.
Well, I mean, for some of the guys here, like JTK and KVS, they really need to get themselves out of the bottom 5. Torn Penguin also not having a lap time in. This is basically now or never to get himself in there. But then also you have guys in at the bottom of the top 10. You have George, Reese, Hunted, Jack, and Ding. They are at risk as well. But this is literally the final run here. No, you cannot make a mistake. If you make a mistake, you are done. I'm on board with KVS right now.
Yeah, it's going to be critical not to invalidate and not to slip up, not to have anything happen. How have you adjusted your setup for these conditions as well? It's going to be my question for the drivers. Use everything you can. Be sure you are careful on the battery. KVS is doing a 17.7. We got Gecko coming through. 17.5. He's bettering himself by a full second in the first sector. We've got yellow flags for a car starting their lap, but it looks like everybody will get to the line in time to start their final flying lap. And I think just about majority of these guys, in fact, probably all of them, will have one go at it. Enter KVS.
TB's done.
Who?
TB invalidated.
That is big. That is super big. The man who sits third. And if enough people invalidate Titan, he might be safe, but you just don't know right here.
Penguin invalidated too, and spun out.
Who has?
I'm Penguin.
Wow, yeah, he didn't have a lap in, so that's crucial. KVS, 0.1 there in the middle sector.
Minico's wrecked.
Minico crashed. He was in the top 10 already. This is what I was talking about with a lot of guys potentially having trouble. We've seen it happen. Enter KVS goes fastest. Next is Gecko. Gecko tops the board with Reese to follow. Reese is in. Jack is in. Who follows them? We've got Blue Goggy, I believe, or Cryptic. That is Cryptic. Next is the Aston. That will be Ding. Minico is now definitely out for sure. Hunted is in. And George knocks TB out. TB has been knocked out here. That is extremely big. Leo Lund will cross with Gagi. Gagi is 9th. That may be at risk. JTK is 6th, and Gagi will be knocked out here with Leo Lund going fastest. Penguin invalidated, as you said. He is out. Reese could be knocked out here with Red Fire's lap, and he has been knocked out. Both Red Bulls,
crap,
who have finished in the points for the last 66 races in a row, are both out here in Q2. And Cryptic is the only one in the academy for V-Carb into Q3, but he's only 9th of the guys in here. What are we witnessing?
Look at the difference. Look at the difference between Hunted and Reese. 58 thousandths of a second. You can't get any tighter than that. And basically look at George, from George all the way down to Reese, from 4th to 11th. 0.3 of a second separates those 8 drivers.
With TB invalidating, he was still 13th. He was still ahead of 2 guys who had trouble. That's what I mean. There were a lot of guys who had trouble on their laps. And, well, as we see, some got through, some didn't. Here is the top 3 from Q2. Leo, Jack, and Gecko. George and Ding are both into Q3. That's a very good effort from both of them. Red Fire is in for Williams. We've had a Williams in a Q3 recently, but not under his name. Cryptic is in, the only Red Bull Academy car. Hunted is in. That's a comeback after what happened in Texas for sure. Our bottom 5, both Red Bulls, Reese and TB, 2 champions. Gagi, Minico, and Penguin have been eliminated from qualifying. They will no longer compete for the rest of the running and qualifying. Give us your predictions in Twitch chat, folks, for who you think will be on pole position or the top 3. We got Minico, JTKF1 fan, Goatly, Vade, Speedy, and a few others here in the Twitch chat watching along.
Okay, so some interesting notes that just came into the driver chat here. Apparently Minico crashing in that second switchback. According to Jordan, apparently Minico crashed there on purpose. That is one piece of note. But another one involving the leader of Q2, Leo Lund. Leo Lund has been called out by Reese for hindering his qualifying lap.
And maybe that could have been the difference with Reese advancing and Reese not, as you said, with the 50,000s separating him and Hunted. So, with some big teams knocked out, we have some smaller teams into the next round of qualifying, into the final round of qualifying. We had 2 Red Bulls in Q2 knocked out. We had a Mercedes in Q1 knocked out. Who does that put into Q3, considering we have some higher teams knocked out, as we were saying? That puts Williams into Q3. They had the longest run with Sauber of not getting into Q3 of the active runs. It was Spa with Dom. They were last in Q3 in here with. Red Fire is in here now into Q3 once again in the Williams team. I believe he's made on Q3 with all 3 teams this season of the Mercedes Academy. We have Alpine getting in through Hunted's case. He last time they got into Q3 was back in Monza. And the RB of Cryptic got in, the only Red Bull Academy car. Leo Lund starts his lap right with the Aston Martin of Ding. 2 champions here, our first and our most recent here on laps to start Q3.
Absolutely, I'm on board with Ding right now as he just came out of the Senna S, now heading into the first heavy braking zone of turn number 4. Low woggle coming out of there through turn number 5. He's following in the slipstream of Leo Lund, which you think the dirty air may affect them, but it doesn't affect them much. Through turn 6, now into the next heavy braking, 7. Now here we go into the switchbacks of 8, and then into 9. Little tighter line Ding took out of 9 compared to Leo Lund. Now into the sweeping left of turn 11 through sector number 2. Ding has a 50.6 to complete that section. And into the last couple of corners now, the 2 McLarens and the Aston Martin will be clearing up first. Jack is going to be the first one to cross the line and set the benchmark. What is it going to be? 7.4. Leo Lund responds with a 6.5. And Ding overtakes Jack, sandwiches between the McLarens by 6 thousandths of a second over Jack.
That's an impressive lap from Ding. Remember, he will be Leo Lund's teammate next season in RPL F1. Developing stuff midweek there. We got more cars crossing. Red Fire and KVS set laps. George and Hunted set laps. They were running right up against each other. Hunted's 4th, George is 5th. So the Alpine / McLaren Academy cars into this session of qualifying, 3 of them, well, all 3 of them, sit in the top 4. They make up all those spots except for the one in the front row of Ding. Gecko's coming through the middle sector split now, 50.5. Keep an eye on that middle sector in the race. We will not see many overtakes happen there, but if you're going for it, it's going to be ballsy, and it may affect the outcome of the DRS train we see tonight, if there is one. Gecko below 10% in the batteries. He's going to cross the line, and what will he do? He will go front row. Gecko has not had a pole since last season, and he's had quite a few front rows this season to back it up. We're going to ride on board with JTK or KVS. Either one work. I mean, both are on laps now. JTK enters turn 1. He was right up against the grass. That's what you want to be very careful about, not clipping that grass on entry. We've seen some accidents happen there due to collisions or drivers clipping the grass or whatever has happened before in the past. KVS now goes 3rd. He's had a few front row starts to his name, but never a pole at RPL F1. JTK crosses the first sector split. We go to turn 4, turn 5, and this is where it starts to get tighter on this racetrack, Titan. You've got to maximize this section if you want to have a good enough lap.
Absolutely. Here come JTK now heading into the switchbacks. Comparing JTK to his teammate in Sector 1, JTK is 300ths of a second faster in Sector 1. Let's see what he's got for Sector number 2. Coming out of turn 11 now. Doing pretty solid so far. 50.9 for his Sector 2. A little slide into the braking zone of turn 12. There's Gecko right ahead of him. Gecko might be providing a slight little slipstream. Yes, he does. JTK flying down the track to come across the line, and he is going to be 6th fastest, 7.6. I mean, despite being a couple of hundredths up in Sector 1, I think this little slide in turn 12 must have cost JTK quite a bit of time.
It's nice to see a bit of teamwork between both Ferrari drivers. Do not be surprised if we see that happen later on in the session with other drivers. We mentioned as well George and Gecko, I believe, earlier on. Someone who will not have the assist of a slipstream in this session is TSR Cryptic, because for Cryptic's case, he in fact does not have any Academy teammate in this session. And it's funny we say that because he has his teammate for next season just right ahead of him in 9th place. Cryptic does a 16.8. Remember, that is his teammate for next season, Red Fire. But 16.8. In the first sector, we've got a car he's approaching that is the McLaren. In front, that is Jack. And Cryptic did have a little small battle, I believe, with Jack momentarily in the F2 race earlier today. So, of course, they do have a bit of time near each other in recent times. Nonetheless, Cryptic comes into the corner where we had a collision on lap 1 of this race 2 seasons ago. We got to make sure we avoid that. In fact, we want to speak about previous Brazil races in a few moments' time. I want to talk about last season. Last season, it was Cookie who dominated the event, and it really was a battle behind that. It was the battle we looked out for second in the Constructors. Right now, the Constructors thing we're looking at tonight is if McLaren can clinch it and wrap it up. Cryptic comes across, and it will be 6th fastest. Not bad from the V-Carb driver. This is great stuff from Cryptic. It just seems like he just impresses every other week. And we've got Jack Miles now on a lap. Someone who looked like he was going to claim his first victory around Brazil a few seasons ago, back in Season 5. But got it stolen in the stewards room. He's 72 thousandths up on the time, and he could make this a McLaren front row lockout. Of the McLarens in RPL F1, we've not seen a McLaren front row lockout since they've become the dominant car.
Yeah, this will be if they get themselves onto the front row, both McLarens. This will be not only a really good feeling for those guys going into the race, but it is going to be a slight devastating blow to their competitors, Red Bull, because they are starting down in 11th and 13th. That's not where they want to be. They have a lot of work to clear up. As Leo, by the way, just improved by a little over 1/10 of a second. But here comes Jack. He's over 2 tenths up after Sector 2. Let's see how much further he's going to go up by. And he does inherit the front row with his teammate. And he takes second from Gecko by 0.05 of a second. Meanwhile, further behind, oh, nope, Dings isn't going into the pits. Same with the V-Carb of Cryptic.
He was.
I know with some other cars they're gonna.
Wondering why he did that.
Yeah. I do know a couple cars that are going to be coming out to try again to get improvements on their laps. Probably George in the Aston Martin and Rev Fire in the Williams. They're definitely going to come out later on to try to improve their time. I think honestly, I actually wonder if maybe Rev Fire can pull off a surprise and maybe get finished ahead of a couple of these guys when Q3 is all said and done.
It's going to be tough with the car he's in, but the fact he snuck his way through is very impressive indeed, and it's very interesting how on our timing charts, you know, I mean, we have, you know, in the second half, a Tier 2 champion in 6th, a Tier 2 champion in 7th, a Tier 2 champion in 8th, and the 2 Tier 2 title contenders this season are 9th and 10th. So, it's just, it's funny how it works sometimes. Less than 3 minutes remaining. Give us your prediction in Twitch chat for pole position, or the top 3. Minico did say earlier on he did not crash on purpose. So, what I'm going to guess then, from what Jordan saw, is whatever happened with Minico, it looked intentional, but it wasn't then. So that's what I'm going to have a guess at. I don't want to try to assume anybody is crashing intentionally here in RPL. But yeah, nonetheless, NRM KVS is starting his final lap. Titan, how about you take this away? We're entering turn 1 right now.
Yeah, so here comes KVS currently navigating his way through the center S. Don't want to take the curb of turn 2 too much or you risk invalidation. Hugging that curb out of turn 3 into the DRS immediately. Getting the speed up to about 198 miles an hour into the braking zone to turn 4. Through sector 1. Now out turn number 5. Flying his way up through the gears into 7th gear. Into turn 6. And he just does a little engine braking. And that was it. He's still foot to the floor into those braking zones of turn 7 and through 8. As he heads up into the switchbacks.
Now we've got a few more corners remaining. Remember, when he gets to turn 12, that is the final braking zone, but that's not the final corner on the circuit. NRM KVS is improving just marginally, and this could be the difference with him being either 3rd or 4th. And right now he still does sit in the second, but he has backed off. He is going to think of maybe recharging here, and he does have enough time to make a cooldown lap, but he is going to the pit lane and getting out of the way here. Gecko is coming through the first sector, and I look at his time, and he's down. So whatever he was trying to do there, he is backed off, and he is saving ERS for one final lap. I think Ding is also doing the same thing as well, right in 5th on our boards, because he is also charged about 100%. So maybe similar to what we see in real life sometimes, as everyone is in this queue for and the sector 2 start their laps. You see drivers do a lap, recharged, and then do their second lap, which is actually their flying lap. We have Cryptic on a lap. We're going to see what everyone's doing in the sector split. Look at the cars, the traffic. It's a jam there going into turn 1 with about 6, 7, 8 different cars there on track. Cryptic is down on the time. Pole sitter Leo Lund is going to get 3 laps in here, and this is his 3rd. This is his 3rd. He was on pole the first time. The second time, we didn't watch that one, but he's 7 tenths clear of rival Jack, and Leo is up still.
Some other cars are improving on their time. I believe I think Jack was improving a little bit. Hunted as well, but not Hunted. George as well, but unfortunately Hunted was not improving on his time. He got held up in turn 1, right behind George, trying to not collide with him, and he was over 2 tenths down going through there. Cryptic, by the way, is cooled off. He's backed off, so that's gonna end his run. Meanwhile, Jack comes across the line. He is 200s up in Sector 2. Leo Lund is also improving as well. Let's see by how much, as these guys are filing on in to finish off and strong. Here comes Jack to clear his time, and he improves just slightly, and Leo improves by 3 tenths.
Leo currently is going to sit on pole once again. JTK goes fourth. Can Gecko say something about JTK's lap and get even better? No, Gecko stays put. It's a McLaren front row lockout for the first time. And for Leo Lund's case, this is pole 14. McLaren's 20th pole. And for Leo Lund, it is yet another pole in a row. Make it now 6 in a row. 9/10 the gap around a circuit that is only 66 seconds in terms of lap time. That is insane. Leo Lund and Jack make up the front row for McLaren on the day they can win the Constructors' title. It's the first one, too, for McLaren in qualifying. Not the first when you compare the races as well. Ferrari, second row. Mercedes Academy are third row, but with two different cars. Cryptic, Hunted, George, and Red Fire round out. You spoke about how close can Red Fire get. 3/10 off of George right there. And what Leo Lund is trying to do tonight, besides win the Constructors' Championship for his team that he's been loyal to since joining, for now, what he's trying to do is break a record Luke had before of wins from pole consecutively. Luke had 5 wins from pole on 2 different occasions consecutively. Leo currently has 5 wins from pole right now. He's currently got pole, and if he wins, he gets 6 in a row, meaning that's a new record.
I mean, Leo Lund has been breaking all sorts of records all season so far, and he's looking to add some more.
Stat padding, as Cookie and Skither would say.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Cookie did do that kind of sort of last season, but
Yeah.
I digress on that one. Yeah, it looks like everyone's figuring out what the tire setting they're going to be going with.
And I would expect a lot of guys on hards, Titan. I'm telling you right now, I just looked at a stream from one of the drivers. If we get enough safety cars through this event, the 7th patch is rain. The 6th patch is cloudiness. There very well could be rain by the 6th patch then. If there are safety cars, that will be effective. We've got 10 seconds.
Well, this is going to be quite a lot of fun. I cannot wait for this type of racing action. Let's get it rolling.
Can we avoid the usual trouble we see in the Senna S's, the Lago, and all the other famous corners around this Sao Paulo Interlagos circuit? Here we come for the 5 red lights. Round 17 of the season is kicking on now. And it's time to bring the action. It looks like Jack got a slightly better launch than Leo. They'll be about equally side by side for turn 1. Jack dives down the inside and takes over the lead of the race. He's out in front. Reese Dainty had a horrible start. He got eliminated in Q2. He was ahead of TB at the start, but now he's down in 17th. What a disaster for the driver trying to take over P4 in the Drivers' Championship. Red Fire is racing out with Blue Goggy. Them two collided yesterday, but we're basically single file all the way back to TB and Goggy, who make contact. Those are 2 guys in control of the Red Bull Academy. One's an assistant, one's a co-team. We get braking for turn 6. We have a dive bomb move from Red Fire and TB. No love lost between these 2. TB currently is ahead. He's got to gain places for Red Bull if they want to stay in contention for the Constructors' Championship. We get down, heavy braking here. 3 wide at the back. Maxwell losing the rear locking it. He's lost some places. Now Reese Dainty's trying to get that lost ground, and Zakaria has passed Maxwell. Leo Lund might lead lap 1 if he can get out from the slipstream of Jack. Here we go. The 2 McLarens are racing down the main straight, and Leo Lund does lead lap 1 of this race.
Yeah, going into turn 1, another collision that happened was between the 2 Ferraris of Gecko and GTK. GTK lost a couple of spots. Meanwhile, just slightly further back, we have a little action here between Hunted and George. George on loan to Acid, so these 2 are technically Academy teammates. But George down the inside against Hunted. Little squeeze job there, but he's just not fair. George is up into 8th place, but here comes TV. Want to see the peak to improve up to 10th into 9th place, but Hunted keeps the door shut.
TB has a lot of pace, as you can see in that Red Bull, but he's got to have the patience. Someone else who has to have the patience is Blue Goggy. He didn't yesterday. He's racing Red Fire, who he collided with. Now down the inside, TB's going to go unhunted. How about these 2? Some champions of RPL. In fact, it's interesting because both them, in their respective championships, won it at this circuit. in seasons prior. Look at these two just mashing wheels there down at the final braking zone. The fake TB is through, and he has gained the most places of anybody, while his teammate was the biggest loser on the start. So a very interesting tale at Red Bull Racing on the start. Fastest laps being set. Leo Lund does one right there. Minico is getting a place down in 12th. That's with Blue Goggy. Everybody is still in this race. Everybody is still in DRS range. We had DRS activated just a lap ago. And will anybody make a move in this train right now? We have Gecko who's in 3rd, Ding who's in 4th, and now Reese Dainty who's in the DRS train making a move, boosting past Blue Goggy. Those are two teammates right there. Little talk about some criticism made in the past before Goggy about Reese prior to this event, but nonetheless, respect between them two on the track as teammates.
Absolutely, and Reese really needs to fire back on all cylinders. I'm willing to bet the reason he fell so far behind is maybe he had a contact with someone in turn 1 at the start. That's why he plummeted so far down. But he's starting to recover. He is back in the position that his teammate started in, down at 13th. Whoa! Reese braked, and I think his right rear clipped the grass, and he nearly spun it going into the braking zone to turn 12, but lost quite a lot of time to Minico. Meanwhile, further ahead, KBS clears Ding to get himself into 4th place, and indeed, KBS just took the fastest lap of the race, and TB, by the way, cleared George to get into 8th.
Jack is going for it and clears Leo Lund for the top spot to re-inherit the lead that he had for quite a bit on lap 1. Remember, Jack did not lead lap 1. Someone who had to take evasive action in that train back there, Titan, was Blue Goggy, and I think they're very fortunate, both RB and Red Bull drivers, to remain in DRS of Minico right there, who just looks like he maybe has lost it there. Red Fire 2.
Yeah,
Leo Lund has gone wide! Leo Lund has gone wide and has to give up 2nd place to HSR Gecko. That is going to be costly. A rare mistake from Leo. Doesn't cost him like it did to Cookie last season, who spun from the lead, but it costs him a place, though, in the process. He's using battery to try and re-inherit the place. We're going to go wheel to wheel down the main straight, and Leo Lund does breeze past. Does he go for the lead in the process? Does he get a little impatient with teammate Jack? No, he stays in behind. Smart move there from the most recent and reigning champion. Reese Dainty and Minico, I'd say they're friends. Move made there. And Ding gets KVS for 4th.
KVS just took the Senna S just a little wide in turn 2. That allowed Ding to take advantage and get that 4th place spot back. And yeah, Reese clearing Minico to get into the 12th place spot. He's still got 2 more cars to clear in order to get himself back into the points. Meanwhile, his teammate TB is further up, and he is right behind Cryptic. I think when TB gets closer to Cryptic might move out of the way and let TB through. But in Cryptic's case, though, he's right on the tail of GTK.
Expect Cryptic to do that on the main street if he's going to do it anywhere. You do not want to lose time in this DRS train at all with that being the case. You could definitely see on the bottom of our screen, it's enabled. We're not going to talk about it too much. ERS difference. What we'll talk about, though, is our race leaders swapping hands once again. It's Leo in front of Jack this time, and I do think Gecko does have a big chance of playing spoiler here on the 2 McLarens. We have a move for 4th place mate. NRM KVS re-inherits that place. Cryptic has finally pulled over for the fake TB. He's got to stay in DRS, though, to have a chance at the front of this field. Gecko is boosting behind Leo, but is not going for it. Further on back, we've got Jordan in his RPL return. He's looking like he's lost touch with Goggy. No DRS there down the straight, down into turn 4 for him.
Well, another car that has lost quite a lot of ground recently, all the way down in 20th place. Cam was right with Maxwell in the DRS about a lap ago. Now is over 2 seconds behind Maxwell. So something went wrong there as TB slingshots in the switchback to try to get past GTK for the 6th place spot. GTK is willing to fight back, but backs off. Going into the last heavy braking zone, and TB is up into 6th. Now in TB's case, this is crucial because McLaren needs to outscore Red Bull by 30 points in order to claim the Constructors' Championship. At this moment right now, they have 43 points compared to TB, who has just got past Ding to get in a 5th, who has 10 points, who's up to 10 points now.
In fact, both Red Bulls are on the move. The fake TB, Reese Dainty, they both just gained a spot there, and Reese Dainty looks like he's going to try to pick up another one. Reese Dainty is trying to pull off a comeback drive here. That would be incredible. With that being said, up to 10th for the Red Bull driver and the Season 9 champion. He is 2 seconds adrift from George, though, so he's got to gain this time. With that being said, remember, Reese started, what, 11th place, I think, and fell back to 17th on the start. He's up to 10th now, the Red Bull driver. It always seems like, just like Sergio Perez style, not to be mean to Reese, he's having to play catch-up, but in the meantime, he always seems to do a good job of it nonetheless. Also, you mentioned Cam. He is the only one that is more than 2 seconds behind another driver in this whole field now, with Reese catching back up to George. Lap 8 will be underway in this race. And I won't be surprised to see pit stops happen around halfway. And anyways, Lennon and Jordan, that's a spot traded further back. We'll put our eye on that later. But the fake TB is another one on the recovery drive we talked about, Titan. He looks to get another one. It's NRMKVS's next target.
Yeah, KVS is trying to keep TB back, but TB is a coming. He wants that spot. It's like shark smelling blood. Meanwhile, Lennon on the little rough riding with Jordan to try to fight for the 15th place spot. And Saubers, by the way, just switched positions. Storm Penguin down in 18th. Sakari up to 17th. And TB, once again, slingshot in the switchback and gets by KVS to 4th place.
That's
good
like
effort.
That's like 3 times now he's been able to pull off the dive bomb there at that corner. Whatever happens, it seems like he's been last of the late breakers there, the fake TB. Very neat stuff. The top 9 remain in DRS range. All in the fight. Gecko behind Jack. Remember, he's just biding his time. I think for Gecko, tonight could be the night he breaks that 189 race drought of not having a victory. Since race 30, that's how long we go back here in RPL F1 for him and his last victory.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a seriously long time. May of 2020 for Gecko. He could be playing spoiler here with the McLarens. He's keeping it clean so far. I'm going to check his track limit penalties, or warnings, excuse me. He does not have any. He's been very, what's the right word for that? Very tough on that for himself, it must be said. Always picking up a lot of penalties, Gecko. But he has kept it clean. He has kept it close. And remember, if you do remain in this DRS train, you do have a good chance. And it looks like he's doing that with Leo and Jack right now. But I think the problem for him right now is the fake TB. As you said, he's the coming quick. And he just had a big snap. The fake TB will remain in the place. It looked like just moments prior, he was so close to making a move on Gecko and almost clipping the rear of him. But in the process, he had to make sure MKVS did not clip the rear of him when he went for that moment down where he's kept making the moves. Hold on, here comes Jack.
God.
Jack takes over the lead once again. It's a retake with McLaren.
Meanwhile, further back, George down on the inside against Cryptic, puts himself into the 8th place spot. And when you were saying about Gecko, in regards to warnings and track limit penalties, well, the Haas pair, Minico and Cam, are the first 2 in the penalty box for track limit warnings, excessive amount. But another driver that's at severe risk, Leo Lund. Leo Lund has 2 warnings on him. Boy. The last warning was back on lap 6. He has 2 warnings. One more. He finds himself in the penalty box.
And here we go once again. The fake TB got squeezed there as he tried to go for the move on HSR Gecko. He'll lose a place at the expense of it, but never mind. How about this back on the inside? The fake TB does hold on to the place with NRMKVS. He just saved himself from a near disaster right there, and those yellow flags at the back of the field look to have been for either Iran Maxwell G or Cam. There was trouble there, but in front, Leo Lund retakes over at the front of the field once again. And how about this? NRMKVS tried to shoot one down the inside of the fake TB.
It was Cam.
Whoa, damage! Damage to JTK! He tried to go for it on Ding, and as he tried to have a go, he ran into the side of the Italian.
That is not good there because GTK has the damage on the left wing, and it looks like Maxo has spun out in turn number 2, and Cam, like I said, he was the one that had that yellow flag earlier. He spun out of turn number 6, and he just got himself a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and a 3-second penalty for corner cutting somewhere. But yeah, Dean, by the way, on board with him. He is chasing KBS down to try to inherit up in the 5th, and meanwhile, Reese is slowly but surely starting to claw the time difference between him and Cryptic down there, and we have a VSC.
Is that for Cam, who just broke his front wing out of the exit of the pits? It is. Cam,
Well,
coming out of
that's
the pits,
unusual.
broke his front wing, and we have some drivers boxing. JTK has just spun at the entrance of the pit lane. Already going from bad to worse for the Dutchman. This is horrible. Minico is in as well. NRM KVS almost got held in the process when JTK came in there and KVS was coming out. But Lennon, another big hinder for the top car. He got a 10-second
just
speed.
got caught off guard.
And yeah, there we go. Look at this for our top 3 spots as the VSC ended. That was a very quick VSC. Gecko's taken over 2nd place. And bash and boom, Jack looks to take it back. Around the outside he'll go. This is where the fake TB and KVS almost came together. The fake TB's watching now. Gecko hold on to 2nd place now when Jack tried to sneak a back attack at it.
I think Leo got caught napping right at the end of that VSC, and Gecko took advantage. And when the bashing and bumping, to be fair, I did see Jack had a mini lag spike when Gecko overtook him on the outside. But here comes Jack again to fight for that spot, and he does do it. Get back into 2nd place, and Ding, by the way, I think I saw no Cryptic overtakes George to get into 6th place.
Well, you said Leo got caught out there. I think Jack Miles did as well. George is using a bit of the overtake button to breeze past Cryptic for 6th place. That now is Aston 5th and 6th in this event. With that being said, that VSC came out and there were some who dipped to the pits. And that was Cam, Penguin, Jordan, Zakaria, Lennon, who got the 10-second. Minico, JTK, and KVS all made a trip to the pits there. And if everything worked out with that VSC, they should be getting the undercut here by quite a bit. But that VSC ended very quickly, so it may not be as powerful as we think. TB tried to go for it on Gecko. It did not work out. Meanwhile, it's a race with the top 4. Jack is in striking distance of Leo, but he's using a lot of battery.
Oh, this might not be good.
Here we go. Turn 1 awaits us. Gecko has held on to the place, but there was slight touching between him and TB. Zakaria's lagged out. I was just going to say, slight touching caused the game to ghost both cars.
Well, speaking of cars going to be ghosted and stuff, side note, by the way, because of that little incident he had that brought the VSC, Cam is 1 lap down.
And this is quite a quick time for Cam to be lapped. How about Bulgogi making the overtake on Red Fire Tiger? And Red Fire Tiger is close enough to make this move back, but I don't think he'll do it on the RB driver.
Oh, TB's doing it again!
Here we go. Look at this. Another dive bomb, another lunge from the Season 8 champion. It has not been pulled off this time. Will he go for it here? No. Cryptic made a move there in the Red Bull a few seasons prior that worked out, which was a lunge, but it seems like TB's making it work in the braking zone prior to that.
I mean, we're seeing a bit deja vu with these dive bombs as Gecko's going to the pits.
So, Jack, watch out, you're next. And Gecko has sped in the pits. That's a 10-second to his name. I was just going to say, Jack, you're next for the dive bombs. Here comes TB for 2nd.
Yeah, TB in pursuit of Jack. This is now for the 2nd place spot. And if you think Ferrari's day has gone from bad to worse, when you mentioned JTK spinning out in the pit entrance, now Gecko with a 10-second penalty, that is really going
And
to
he's
hurt him.
hit the pit wall on the exit as well. That's damage to Gecko's race even more. Maxwell.
Maxwell sped.
Yeah, that's the third different driver that is still
Four.
on the lead lap.
Oh, yeah, if you count Camu's lap, that's 4.
Yeah. Well, what a crazy turn of events. I don't think the game is registering these drivers getting to the pit lane in time. I think it's a little bit of a delay. They're trying to really get it in quite fast. Well, I'll tell you.
You don't want to get it in too fast. That won't be quite satisfying.
I mean, we both know that's the thing. It does not work out well. George and Cryptic have gone to the pits, and they do not speed, luckily. So good for them. The fake TV is using battery, and look at this. Hunted is another driver in the penalty club with a speeding penalty. Not a track limit penalty, a speeding penalty. Yes, you're seeing that right. Zakaria tried to join back the session, and it retired his car. That's our first DNF of the event. The fake TB is trailing Jack, but not by much. I just want to mention 5 years ago today, we had Zatsy, the original league owner of RPL, win his second race back-to-back. Could we see the new league owner of RPL, Jack Miles, win tonight? That'll be a big storyline for sure.
By the way, just a little bit ago, Red Fire held off Blue Goggy to keep the 6th place position. This is actually a while.
Oh my word!
Gecko's disconnected.
That is big. Regardless of the 10-second, he was in the train with the fake TB and Jack, who are now racing down the main straight, and TB made super contact with Jack. It got him a 3-second for it. Squeeze play right there. The fake TB squeezed his way through, but not without a track limit penalty. I was just gonna say, Gecko was in this train fighting for these top spots. And that's a second retirement from a car lagging out. But this is insane what we're seeing over the last 10 laps, Titan.
I'm willing to bet with Gecko. He was following through with the thing, and then all of a sudden the game just completely cuts off on him, and he gets not only booted out from the session, but the game just said, "Well, you got booted out. Screw you. You're done for the race too. We retire your car." And Blue Goggy, by the way, overtook Red Fire, getting in the 6th place.
And look who's in this train.
And the KBS said, "Hello, I'm taking over."
Yeah, he is, because guess what? He's going to go down the inside of Goggy as well. How about 2-1 here for NRM KVS, the Finnish driver? I'll tell you right now, he might be able to finish this move on Goggy, and he has. 15.8 seconds adrift from the lead. If these guys pit in front, KVS will inherit the lead to try and win his first F1 race. Speaking of an F1 race, we've got a race on our hands at the front of the field. Red Bull versus McLaren. On the day McLaren can wrap it up, Jack comes in, Leo's been overtaken. The fake TB, who started outside the top 10, now takes over at the front of our field, leading the Grand Prix. Jack is on to hards, Ding will come in for hards. Remember, the fake TB has that penalty. That was when he tried to make the move on Jack. We can't guarantee it will be removed. Remember, you kind of did that in Singapore, Titan, with JTK. But we do know he will be submitting that almost definitely, because the move he made on Jack, he might feel like he was forced out there.
Yeah, that could be the possibility. I mean, TV has quite a history of explaining things quite a lot, and even in specific details. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not as prolifically active on it as TV has.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Jordan gets a penalty now, and George has just picked off Cryptic. Same with JTK.
Yeah, I mean, let's see if my memory's right. I believe as Leo Lund retakes the lead back, and meanwhile, with top 3 of TB, Leo, and Reese, they haven't pitted yet. But also Blue Goggy and Red Fire have yet to pit as well.
You know what? I mean, part of me wants to see them stay out for as long as they can and hope for a safety car, considering we have seen a VSC come out. But part of me wants to see them actually fight for the points, because they do have a good chance of doing that. Meanwhile, down the main straight, JTK pulls out and cuts in front of George to take 8th place on the road. Remember, Miniko in this train has the penalty. That is super big in this race, and once again, I thought we were going to see a move swap between Gagi and Red Fire, but we did not. Down here at turn 4, down the DRS straight, no move in this train made, but I must say it's a nice little five-car battle here between 2 Astons, 2 Ferrari Academy cars, and oh yeah, Cryptic's in this train too.
Jeez.
Ding! Ding ding! He's gonna go for it! Contact with Minico! And Minico gets another penalty alongside his name. Ding gets the place, but that was with major contact. For our lead, the fake TB does not go for a move on Leo Lund, who still remains in front of the lead of this race. We're past halfway now, by the way, folks.
Here comes Jack, by the way, on the hunt against Red Fire and Gagi.
We're
gonna go 3 wide very briefly as Red Fire passed Blue Gagi. Oh, bump.
No damage
Jack,
to
I
the
think braked a little too late, but Gagi came out worse for wear, losing 2 places into the braking zone, and now Jack on the outside with the racing line to get past Red Fire, and he does so. Jack is up into 5th place right now, and he is 18 seconds behind his teammate. So when Leo Lund comes in, I'm not sure what the gap is, what the gap is or whatever, but we know this. He will be behind KVS and Jack. KVS has a near 4-second lead over Jack.
I mean, think about it. It was 19 seconds the gap between Leo, who is pitting, by the way.
Leo walked out.
I know. Ding, almost hit Cryptic. Yeah, I was just gonna say, it was a 19-second gap. With that being said, between Leo and KVS, who had the, 15-second gap. 19 seconds if you add with Jack being there, what the pit stop loss would be from what we saw. Leo is exiting now. I got all messed up in my numbers there. Sorry about that, folks. Reese, you're right, is in. He's on softs, surprisingly. That's a bold strategy. And Leo's on hards. He's behind Jack, but it's a 4-second buffer between Jack and KVS. Red Fire and Blue Gagi, they swap it around once more. JTK is also having a go at George, who loses a place right there in this DRS train for 7th. It will be 5th or 4th, potentially, when these guys do pit and all cycle out. But that being said, NRM KVS won a Formula Endurance race here, I believe, at Brazil once. He's trying for a first F1 win. Cryptic goes deep and almost hits George. We now have side-by-side action between 2 former teammates, Cryptic and Ding. Little bit of argy-barginess between them. Contact made. Race leader TB's in. Ding is in. At the place TB keeps making some moves. So how fitting is that? When TB comes in, Ding makes the move at the place that TB keeps having fun with it.
Oh yeah, as I was saying, it's a bit of deja vu because TE did it at, wound up doing it at the, doing it so far, and last week in Coda, when we had the switchbacks, Hunted was doing it quite a few times. So TB probably taking notes from Hunted's playbook.
George regains the place. Cryptic in the train has just gone out of bounds, picking up a penalty for it. 3.5 is the gap for our race lead. NRM KVS is one of 2 drivers to have the most podiums without a win in RPL as of right now of our drivers who have got podiums without wins. KVS has a total of 5 to his name, joined with Eggles. Here we go, dive bomb. Down the inside,
yeah.
Ding goes for the lunge, and he's going to be racing it out wheel to wheel with JTK. Side-by-side action here, a little bit touching, but JTK has to concede the place, and he does. Aaron Maxwell G, who's had a lot of trouble this race, has got a penalty. The gap is 3.2 right now. Jack and Leo are hunting KVS down, but is KVS in the better spot with track position?
I mean, anything is possible as Leo down the inside to overtake his teammate to get himself into 2nd place. Now is free and let loose to hunt KVS down for basically 1st place at this moment. At this present moment right now, in regards, Reese just takes the fastest lap of this race. At this moment right now, the the McLarens are currently looking at 33 points at this present moment. TB and Reese for Red Bull, they are currently, TB is looking to keep 4th place, which is 12 points. Meanwhile, Reese will jump up to 8th, overtaking Cryptic and Minico. That's 4 points, so that's 16. So Red Bull, at this moment, will live to fight another day in the Constructors' Hunt.
But they do keep their streak of remaining in the points for consecutive races alive. That it would be nearly, I think, 3 seasons with them doing that. They've done it for 67 races if they do it today. And KVS is being hunted down for the lead. 1.4 now the gap. Leo Lund is approaching quick.
We have a car off.
And that is a Sauber. That I believe is Torn Penguin.
Jordan.
No, the one behind him. Yup, Jordan, you're right. Front wing missing. VSC deployed. So we have a stoppage to this race. Does this help KVS save tires? Does he get the advantage under the VSC? Remember, you said Leo Lund and Jack were caught off last time. Let's see if it happens again. I also think it helps Reese and the other two soft runners of Goggy and Redfire actually save a bit of tires here to get to the end on their fresh sets.
Well, I mean, to be fair, at this track, going from mediums to softs is not unheard of. Think about back in Season 9 with Owen. He went 26 laps on the medium tires, then pitted for the softs, and wound up finishing in the top 10. I believe it was 7th he wound up finishing in that race. So I think Reese is probably channeling Owen a little bit here to see what he can do. And we have another retirement in the race, and that is for Jordan. Jordan is done, but we are back underway now.
We're back underway, and hello, Leo Lund for the activation of DRS. We have a swap at the front for the lead. Leo Lund regains the top spot. Jack Miles is sitting in third, just behind KVS. And now you got to ask yourself, is KVS at least going to be on a podium spot here for Mercedes, with that being said, because the fake TB, who's only 2.5 seconds adrift, does have that penalty. And speaking of penalties, Ding has put himself in the penalty box as well.
And at this moment, that is going to bring Reese up another place too. This could put Reese up into 7th if he can stay within 3 seconds of Ding at this moment.
He's got to make the overtakes quick, Reese. If he can do that, he might get himself a top 5 finish. Look at the drivers in this train with penalties. He almost rams in the back of Minico while we were talking about that.
Yeah.
But there are 4 drivers in this train who have penalties. 5 drivers in front of Reese.
Oh,
now
Reese
we go
doing
for a
a
move.
TV.
Here we go. Minico on the inside. Now for the next corner, Reese on the outside. Now, does Reese stay there? No, he does not. He has to wait another turn there. And Jack Miles around the outside, the long way around, is through on NRM KBS. He is in striking distance and DRS distance of teammate Leo Lund. We have a fight at the front of our field. We have a swap now between 2 teammates. George ahead of Ding. Further back, Reese on the new set of tires is up to 9th on track. Now that's 3 drivers in front of him with track limit penalties of some sort. Goggy got Lennon.
Really wild here.
Now Ding.
I'm just taking
George traded again. Where do you look? Where do you look?
I was just taking a look at Reese's most previous lap compared to some of the guys ahead. He was over a second faster than Minico on the last lap, and about 0.6 of a second faster than Cryptic on the last lap. But here comes Reese. Is he gonna do another TB shot? Yes, he does on the inside against Cryptic, and he's up in 8th place. Now he has GTK to hunt down.
We talk about there not being a lot of overtakes happening in the middle sector around this circuit, but you know what? It's that corner where it seems to work almost every time. Reese Dainty is using a bit more battery to make another place work. Can he make the magic happen now with JTK? Both have DRS, but Reese was using a bit of the overtake. Down to turn 1. You got to get it stopped in time, not to the car in front. This is careful. You got to have it careful. Reese had it careful and got through. 7th place is now Reese's. He'll have net P6 with the penalties applied, but he's got to overtake the 2 asses quickly if he wants to go fight his teammate, and then maybe the next target could be the podium.
I mean, if he gets past George, that would give him P5, and that is going to be more crucial for Red Bull in their hunt to stay in the fight for the Constructors' Championship right now. Meanwhile, TB is actually catching KVS at this moment. And KVS, unfortunately, just fell out of DRS against Jack, and that separation hit in the center S.
Look at Jack and Leo. Jack is looking to try and stay alive. He's using a lot of battery to remain in striking distance of Leo Lund. He made a fair point about KVS and TB. Look at the tire difference. 10 laps right there. A big wiggle from the back of the Aston. George Alp Williams lost the rear, and he's going to go for it on Ding. 3 wide. Reese, the long way, has pulled it off on the main straight. When it seemed impossible to do 2 and 1, he has done it again.
Oh, shucky ducky, quack quack, Reese. What?
And George is coming back at it. He had the DRS and takes over 5th place once again. He is not going to allow Reese to do this the easy way. And neither will Ding.
He's going to make Reese fight.
Yeah, he will. Got some champions up here. Lennon got a penalty, by the way. Ding, Season 1 champion. Reese, F2 and F1 champion. George, Tier 3 champion. JTK, Tier 2 champion. Cryptic, Tier 2 champion. Minico's not a champion in this train, but also he won his 2nd F2 race earlier today. Jack still fighting to stay in DRS range. He's used a bit more ERS. He is on 40% ERS worse than Leo Lund right now, just to try and stay and have a fight for the victory. TB's got DRS and KVS. We have a move striking into turn 1. TB not going to be last late breakers again. Here we go with Reese and George. I know, it keeps seeming like these two are going back at it and going for it every time. It seems like George used a lot of that battery the last time, down toward turn 4 to make the move. TB is finally through on KVS. Now, can Reese keep George at bay? George is using the overtake. Look at this pride between the two, fighting it out. George swapping hands with Reese once again.
These two are just going to war with each other here.
Reese going onto the grass.
Reese needs to keep it held. Keep him composed.
Here we go!
Ooh,
Dive bomb! He got desperate, and it's caused
dumb.
an accordion effect behind. Reese Dainty almost collided with George. Looked like an uncontrolled dive bomb right there.
There was contact. That Reese did wind up with a slide. That resulted in the accordion effect. I saw that shot coming. I'm like, I don't think that's not a good idea. that was the result there. I was like, that was a little silly.
Jack barely remains in DRS of our race leader, Leo Lund, who's trying to win 6 races in a row. That's not happened in a few seasons of RPL, though we could see it tonight. Here we go once again. 3 wide toward turn 1 momentarily. Ding backed out of it. George backed out of it to get the DRS once more down toward turn number 4. Reese Dainty. Can he use some battery down here? Yes, he will. Does George go for it? Yes, he does. He's going to go the long way around. Reese forces him the long way around, and Reese does not come back at it, but almost loses it on the curb. This is great, thrilling action for 5th place in this race. Reese on the fresher, soft rubber, having to use everything he can to fight this. George on 5-lap worse tires, and here's a move again.
Oh.
Ding gonna go for the shot and cannot make it work.
Ding actually had a little rear slide going into the braking zone, just catching that. And by the way, Leo Lund has pulled away from his teammate, Jack, 1.7 behind. And
That is
KBS
crucial
loses tune to TB.
for this race. And yes, you're right, Goatley in the Twitch chat. This is a proper Aston sandwich. This time, Reese Dainty is in the same spot he's been the prior 3 laps. Does he make it work and realize what he's done this time? Now, he'll get the spot over George. And will we see anyone behind make the move? George made Reese think about it. Reese is on worse ERS compared to George. How does that shape up as we go down to turn 4 once again? Another wiggle from the Red Bull. George is trailing him and going for it this time on the inside. Does Ding follow?
Ding's making a push too.
Look at this. Side by side. Reese gets forced out. That's a penalty to the Red Bull.
I wonder if Reese could argue saying, hey, I got forced off. I think that could be unfair, but now it's going to hurt his chance because now he can't get past Ding. The only way he can get past Ding is to get him on the track. But now because of that penalty, that moves JTK to go into the 8th spot. 6th spot, sorry.
Well, with that being said, Reese Dainty could also argue that is raceable surface. We've got a lap car in front of George, who will give him DRS.
Cam.
Cam is giving the assistance this time.
Now.
Look at this, DRS activated for every single one of them. Now, we're gonna go 3 abreast, maybe? No, we are. Look at this.
Maybe not.
Reese backed out of it. Now that's JTK side by side with him, and JTK is picked off 1 here in the train. This is amazing. Fantastic racing for 5th place, and some of them will be losing it based on penalties. George is back through.
This is just war here between these 5. And this is literally the back half of the points here. This is incredible.
You've got to think, George, maybe using lessons learned from Tier 2 and Tier 3 action here with better racecraft to do what he's doing right now. Further behind, I think there was a move made for 12th place. Blue Goggy gets Red Fire. They're also both in the soft tires, 1 lap fresher than Reese, but they will not be fighting here. Cryptic just nudged the back of Reese there for 8th place. I don't know if that'll help. It's not NASCAR style. We're not at Talladega this week, folks, but we are at Brazil, and we are getting some tandem style racing. That's to say the least.
I just realized, looking at the gaps here, TB has cleared KVS, so TB will be keeping 3rd.
And regardless of the McLaren 1-2, with how things stand right now, I believe we should have the Constructors title go on the next week at Vegas. Here we go once more. Down into turn 4. Another DRS straight with some amazing racing we've seen so far. Everybody has to stay in line. It's a little check up there into turn 4 from the drivers, just avoiding hitting the car in front. We're going to have Leo Lund cross the line to go 3 laps to go this time on our board. And with that being said, like I said earlier, we're looking to see a driver win 6 in a row. We've not had that happen since, I believe, back in season 6 to 7 with Skither. He was the last one to do it. But we've only ever had it happen 3 times in RPL F1.
I think this is going to get interesting because coming out of this corner right now with our main protagonist here, GTK has a full battery available and he's pouring it out.
And he's on hot lap. Ding is on the overtake button. Here we go. We're going to see 3 abreast into turn 1. We have Ding going the long way. GTK is trying to follow, but there's nowhere to go. Reese also snuck a peek on the Ferrari. This is great stuff. JTK also in the process is looking for his best RPL F1 finish. He's had 2 races prior in the Ferrari that have not gone his way. Here we go, down to turn 4. Everyone tucks back in line. Meanwhile, Red Fire Tiger and Blue Goggy are having a cracking battle for P12 as well.
I mean, JTK, when he was going to make the shot, when Ding overtook George, he wanted to go right the same way as George, as Ding did, but George made himself look extra thick to keep JTK behind.
I mean, this is great, keeping JTK at bay the way he has. 22 laps in the hards, 22 laps in the hards. You see that twice in this train. Minico and JTK have that alongside their names because they pitted under the VSC we had earlier on, and they took full advantage of that to get the track position. JTK also got to repair his wing doing that, by the way. And that was a big thing that he got to do when he got damaged racing the Aston, and he's back in this fight. Here we go. Reese pulling out. Little defensive move from the Dutchman in the Ferrari. Side-by-side action here at turn 2. JTK almost goes out. JTK almost forces Reese onto the curb as well. How about Cryptic putting his nose in the fight as well? Cryptic is trying to clear Reese, in fact, and he's going to back off and say, well, that's the main Red Bull. I might be uncomfortable doing that.
And this is just getting really wild here. We're just keeping close focus on this gangle of a fight between these 6 drivers. We literally got 2 Astons, a Ferrari, a Red Bull, a V-Carb, and a Haas all battling it out. And these guys are all going to be getting points in some shape or form. JTK's evil out of the second switchback. Reese thought about taking advantage, but just can't seem to stick it in there. Ooh, JTK almost lost it into the final braking zone.
It looks like his
And
tires
that's
are
gonna
wearing
kill
off. We had major contact down at turn 1 with Maxwell and Penguin moments ago. Reese is through for 7th, but they might have lost touch with George and Ding. That will be crucial. Cryptic gets JTK as well. The two Italian teams are fighting it out. Visa and the Ferrari Prancing Horse versus Credit Score. There's contact, and now Minico can't even go through right there. This is crazy.
How did they not crash?
Ding has been overtaken. JTK is alongside Cryptic, bashing of the wheels again. This is crazy action. We're gonna go into sector 2, almost side by side here. We're gonna go to our leaders.
Jesus.
Leo Lund is going to become only the 3rd different driver to win 6 races in a row in RPL F1. It's only happened 3 times prior. Make it a 4th. How about make it 6 consecutive wins from pole? That's a new record. Leo Lund with win 11. Jack Miles claims 2nd place. And the fake TB, what a comeback drive. A fight to the line now. NRM KVS picks up 4th, and we got a photo finish on our hands behind. Dinger George, which Aston is in front on track? It is George for 5th. What a great battle. Now, Reese and Ding both get overtaken by JTK, who picks up his best F1 finish. Hunted in the end, had that 10-second that will keep him out of the points. Look at that. He would have beat Minico. And a fight to the line. Red Fire and Blue Gagi are 12th and 13th. What a crazy race. Leo Lund picks up win 11, and it's 6 consecutive wins from pole. That's the first time ever that's happened.
Holy wow.
We have one more fight to the line. Maxwell and Penguin. We have a photo finish between them on track. These two are battling egregiously down at turn 1. It's Maxwell who loses out to Penguin. I'm going to give my driver of the day to the fake TB. Good comeback drive right there. And this podium happens once again with Leo, Jack, and TB. Our podium celebrations are underway, but this podium has happened now 3 of the last 4 weeks, I believe. Yes, 3 of the last 4 weeks. Monza, Singapore. Didn't happen in Texas, but it happened this week in Brazil. Leo and Jack are 1-2 for the 5th different time in RPL F1. That was thrilling stuff, Titan. I mean, you might need to take a breath. Maybe multiple times.
No doubt about it. And what's really crazy is just those battles right there. But as you mentioned it with TB being your driver today, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one as well, because TB really showed his stride, and even with that penalty, managed to keep KVS behind and still managed to keep that 3rd place. It's a very good, solid run for him. But also, I would say 2 other guys I should give credit to. George in the Aston doing really well, finishing in 5th place, being involved in that mega gangle of cars. And also Minico started all the way down to 14th, is up, it finished in the final point spot. I think that's really nice for the Haas.
Really nice from Cryptic as well. Reese Dainty did get some places gained from where he started. Ding, George, they had great battles for Aston. Double points for them. GTK, we mentioned it's his best RPL F1 finish. A Tier 2 champion. Actually, most reigning Tier 2 champion. Doesn't feel like it. It's been a while ago. And George gets another top 5 finish in Tier 1, but has not had a podium to his name yet. This does surprise me, even though he did start out this game cycle in Tier 3 and in Tier 2. And still is full-time Tier 2, by the way. NRM KVS, I want to give a big shout out to you, buddy. That was great. The fact that you were able to be the first one to pull off the undercut and almost finish on the podium, that's not driver of the day, but that's a very good effort for it.
I agree. I nearly forgot about that. That's another contender in my books because of the pit strategy. He tried it. He thought it would work for a podium. He came up just short, but he did put a valiant effort regardless. regardless of what happened. I'm actually very impressed with KVS.
I mean, I must say, I love our Twitch chat sometimes. We had some people during the race talking about Rocket League. Well, you know what? It definitely felt like it was definitely a back and forth matchup between 5th and 6th place there in the closing stages of that race. The fake TB, by the way, last week it was his 50th podium. He is now tied 2nd all time. I can't believe I'm saying that. The fake TB has been on it this season, and he still keeps himself at a chance for 2nd in the championship. He's now 2nd, tied with Skither and Reese on 51 podiums all time in F1. Must be said. Great stuff from TB, the Season 8 champion.
Yeah, very much so. I'm still, I'm still trying to catch my breath after all that craziness. That was those. I mean, those guys, those 6 from 5th to 10th, they were just brawling. It was like seeing. It was just like seeing a war zone, and it was like seeing a war in a Roman Colosseum. That's what it was like.
I mean, I feel like that's gonna be one watch back for the ages when they look at this race for sure. That battle for P5. George and Ding, you know, I must say there's been a lot of times in the past those two have not kept it clean racing each other. I think back to Season 9 Baku for one occasion between them, the pair of them. They're teammates tonight. They had to keep it clean, and they did. They were very smart about it too, because Ding was, you know, there with the penalty, but made sure he was in front of the others who had penalties as well, which was very crucial in the end. And George, I'm definitely wondering for his case, you know, I mean, no disrespect to George, not hating on him at all, but he definitely proved today for sure, fighting with the likes of Ding and the others he did fight with, that maybe he shouldn't really have been in Tier 3 in the first place for sure, but maybe he really shouldn't even be in Tier 2 either. I'm not trying to hate on him. It's actually a lot of credit to him that he has proven himself the way he has, and we should not be surprised to see him on a Tier 1 podium in the eventual future. I believe he's the first reserve for McLaren, if I'm correct, if he's available and not being loaned out. So I would not be surprised to see that sometime in the future, because he's definitely proven himself quite well in that aspect here at RPL F1 and even Tier 2 and Tier 3.
This is, I think this has been quite a wild event of racing. I mean, if there's any chance, we could probably cut a chunk of the stream, just to show the war between those guys.
I'd be for it.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think we could have that in a separate video just for our fans to watch it and just see how crazy these guys have been running and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an out of context video ready to be posted on either Tuesday or Wednesday on the YouTube. I've got another video as well to go with it, a shorter one, very short one actually, of Season 11 that I think a lot of people will be happy about to see, and maybe we post that, you know, the next time we go to Brazil. I don't know. I mean, this was quite thrilling stuff at the front of the field with those guys. It was not for the top 3 or 4 spots, but it was for P5, which is big points for some of these teams. Haas got a point with Minico. RB got a point. Aston got double points. Remember, Aston are in a big battle with Ferrari for 3rd in the championship. You wouldn't think they'd be that high, but, you know, it kind of feels like Season 4 or something like that all over again, back on F1 2020 with them being that high in the standings. They're doing a very good job, it must be said. And, hey, if Red Bull have a downfall, maybe they could be on for 2nd. I don't think they can any longer, but they could call themselves close. And hey, who knows what can happen? Aston have had definitely the season for it, and next season they'll be getting Leo Lund in their cars, so that'll be lots of fun. And speaking of Leo Lund, Titan, it's only the 4th time we've seen a driver go 6 in a row or more in RPL F1. That is, we've had drivers have longer streaks in Tier 3, I believe, in F2, but and nothing like 15 in a row like Luke did, by the way, but nonetheless, we had Leo Lund win from pole for a 6th consecutive time. That's not been done before. That's unheard of. I mean, think about real life F1 as well. How often do you see that happen? Leo Lund is just smashing records out of the park, it seems.
Whew. Well,
Red Fire's not happy with Goggy, by the way. I just want to mention that.
yeah, I saw it.
I'm-
We could have got it hunted, but you had to be a screwball and keep fighting me every lap. Well,
I think they'll settle it in
on a different note,
tier 2.
I'm not sure if you've mentioned it. What's on hand for next week's events?
Well, we have tier 3 at Miami. That's their first appearance at that circuit. It's only their 2nd in the US. We do have a big title fight on hand there, so I hope everyone does catch that. Even if I'm not there next week, I don't know what I'll be doing. Tier 2 in Imola. There's a big title fight there between Red Fire and George. Also, the constructors can be wrapped up next week as well. F2 returns to Baku. It feels like forever since we've been there. 4 seasons. I know it's not literally forever, but remember, we had a big break in F2 for a while of not running any races. There's a title fight there between Jack and Skither, and Victor can wrap up the title there. And we've got Vegas next week for F1. We're going to go gambling. Let's go gambling. I love that TikTok. I don't. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, I wish we could screw around with a sphere and put stuff on the screen at the sphere. I wish we could do that.
Well, if we could do that, I just want to mention it was Leon Miner's first RPL F1 race 5 years ago today in China. If we could put his highlights on there, we might be here for hours, but I would not be opposed to that at all. Love that man. He's still racing at the back of the field in tier 3, but having fun with it. He's not got any pace anymore, but he's having some clean races, which is a surprise to some.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
I know you would be shocked about that, you know, knowing RPL Titan Iron from 2020 and throughout time in general. We already have an incident reported in the clip submission, by the way, from TB. Jack causing a collision by forcing me off on a straight. I don't know if TB will only get that removed or if Jack will have something toward him or both. That'll definitely be something to look out for in the remaining stages of the week when we release the stewards report later on next week. We had 3 drivers DNF from the event. We had Gecko out for Ferrari, Zakaria not make the flag for Sauber, and Jordan retire for Williams in the pit lane. I am not sure what happened there. He said his front wing did not get changed, so I guess he probably just chose to give up at that point. And also, Iran Maxwell G was our last one on the lead lap, with Cam the last one to finish. He was 2 laps down. Unfortunate from some of those guys at the back of the field we usually see get a chance in top cars every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. That was a little too hectic. A little too hectic. I don't want to give it up for the stream just because, well, not only how hectic it was, but as I've told you, I believe I said this in the commentary chat for sure. I will not be here next week for tier 1. That is for certain. I don't know about the other tiers. I recently, obviously everyone knows the whole story of how I exited RPL about 2 months ago around this time. It was not pretty. I did plan on still commentating, but my main focus was about getting a job and kind of finding things there. And, you know, in order to get certain jobs, you kind of have to not prioritize the old things you do. And that may be the case, you know, for me starting next week with starting on Monday. So I'll tell you right now, I'm not saying goodbye, but I don't know what the future holds. So I cannot sit here and say certain things for certain, but I'll tell you right now, I know for certain I will not be here next week on Saturday to join you, Titan, because I will be attending a wedding of one of my old neighbors who I lived next to for my first 7 years of life. So I think that'll be a fun thing for me, at least, to kind of see, because I don't think I've ever been to a wedding. So
I've
I
only
don't
been
know.
to three.
You've been to 3?
I've been to three.
Okay.
But I think in that case, I'm not gonna say the full word because I'm not gonna get the Twitch in trouble. But it looks like you're getting your, in regards to attending it, you're getting your wedding V card taken.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not me. I'm not getting married, guys. Don't worry.
Well,
But I'm not getting married. No, but my old neighbor who graduated he graduated 12 years before, no, 11 years before me. Wow. Yeah. He is so that's why I won't be here next week. But when everything starts this Monday onwards with what I've got going on, I don't know what my schedule will be. I don't know how often I'll be here. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying goodbye. I did not want to do that entirely, even when I left for the brief time I did. I wanted to basically do what I do now, I feel like, where I don't have the admin duty, but I commentate, not all the time, but I commentate, and then I log off, and we call it a day, and we upload it to YouTube every once in a while. It looks like, I'll probably be at a point where I'm more involved with the stats and the fun facts and the YouTube side of things rather than the commentating, just because that may be where my availability is at. I've told some people, even GTKF1 fan in chat is, mentioning some things he's stuck around. I've mentioned it even to people like JTK and Gagi and Polo and Invade, a few others. I kept saying, might be my last full-time week here. I don't know, because I don't know what it holds. I kept saying that for the last few weeks, but now with everything that has gone my way for the job hunting, I think I can maybe say that. It feels like it's a little bit unknown. I feel like I'm Daniel Ricciardo leaving Singapore with that being said, but it's not fully. It's only full-time if that's the case. So don't be surprised if you do see, not me here for F2 or F1 sometimes. With that being said, I hate to do that, but I telling you, I got no money. I got no money. So I don't know what else to say. I figured I'd leave everybody on that note. Therefore, if there's anybody who does not see me on certain streams for the, obviously, well, we know why next week for F1 and F2 for sure. I don't know about Tier 3, Tier 2, but from then onwards, you know why now. And that should be no surprise now. But hey, everyone knows I'll still keep in touch on the YouTube on a full-time basis there. Commentary basis, I don't know what the future holds. I'm keeping it at that. I can't say for sure, hey, I'll make the race, and then I don't. I don't want to do that. I don't want to end up causing issues on that aspect. I know with the way things ended, kind of taking a step back from myself commentating 2 months ago here at RPL, it did not end pretty, and I want to make sure I'm careful with what's said in that being the process. But Titan, I got to ask, maybe jokingly too, I mean, I did mention living 3 hours away. I was going to say, when's the commentary meetup happening? But we'll joke about that a different time. Because I think we're going a little overboard on how much time we have left on the stream. Nonetheless, we know for sure you'll be here, Titan, next week. Are you going to be alone here for Tier 1 then, probably? Since I'm not going to be here?
Oh, yeah, I'll be here. I'll definitely be here.
No, I know. I'm saying, are you going to be alone, is what I'm saying.
I mean, it's possible. I'm not sure. I mean, it's possible. Maybe I might be alone. I might not be alone. I don't know. Anything's possible. We'll have to wait and see.
I know. I mean, if anybody joins you, I would probably bet it being on Ghost Flame or Lando, probably, if anybody does. But I know even then, when I've not been here the recent few weeks before September, I know it was like only twice one of them two joined you. So yeah, if that's the case, obviously Titan will be here next week for Tier 1 and F2. I will not be. Tier 3 and Tier 2, though, we will let you know what happens as soon as possible for the commentary lineup there. We've got Miami and Imola for them tiers and a championship fight at stake. RPL Formula 2 also returns to the streets of Baku. We're also returning to the streets, but a different type of streets. The Strip, Vegas. We are returning there for RPL F1 next weekend. to continue the action. As I told you already, I will not be here for F1 and F2 next week, but Titan will be. He will be on deck, so expect to hear from him as the play-by-play. Meanwhile, championship fights still continue for the constructors and drivers, so make sure you stick around to watch for that if you're not watching for the drivers' championship. Some constructors to continue, some drivers in other tiers. As we told you, Tier 3 in Miami, Tier 2 in Imola, F2 in Baku, and F1 returns next week in Vegas for the 18th round of the season. We thank you once again for watching each and every week here at RPL Formula One. I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles, and RPL Titan Iron alongside me to end off the night. Goodbye, good night, or have a good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be, whenever you may be watching it. We will see you next time here at RPL Formula One. Goodbye.